Everybody's having a fantastic whatever day you're watching this. So some stuff coming up, some fun stuff to chat about, at least Mopar type stuff. We're basically coming up. I'm looking at my calendar over here. It's the 9th of August. Ooh. And we're waiting on all of this Woodward Dream Cruise Roadkill Nights thing. You know, all of this, I don't know, whatever kind of stuff is going to come out of Dodge. The announcements are going to be hitting supposedly this after this weekend or sometime around this weekend. I don't even know anymore. The thing is that I hate to say it, but I almost feel like I'm not quite as worked up about all of this. You know, I tell you something, with everybody talking about the direct connection thing basically falling upstairs, if you will, and the potential for God only knows what's going to come out of this whole deal with Kuniskis releasing, I don't know, 3 different types of cars on 3 different days. I don't even know what's coming. I can tell you this, all speculation aside, I don't know, am I tired of this, or am I just growing tired of the constant badgering from Dodge to their core base with what might be coming? I don't want to know what might be coming. We already know what's coming from Ford and GM. And they've pretty much sold their soul to the electron gods. And that's a bit of a problem for me as a car guy, because I want choices. I don't want to have this electric vehicle thing just shoved down my throat, no matter how good or how fast they are. It's a one-trick pony. And let's also not forget, not all of the environmental concerns have been vetted with this. So take that with a grain of salt. But, you know, the idea is that we want to have gasoline-powered contraptions. Why can't we have them? So I guess where I'm going with this is, we know that there's a potential for a revised LX platform that could maybe get some hybridization. And good hybridization is not necessarily a bad thing, although it is relatively transitional when you think about it. At least you keep your V8, maybe in this case. Going full electric has its advantages in terms of performance, but a lot of convenience drawbacks, provided that you don't own a house, that is, and have the money to put the box that makes the electrical juice go into your electrical juice tank. So there's that. But I'm really not all that worked up over whatever thing is coming out of this Woodward Dream Cruise Roadkill Nights, brought to you by Dodge Mopar, Challenger, Brotherhood of Muscle, and Mr. Electron, get you some horsepower. It's one of those things too, by the way. It's going to be this long, drawn-out, stupid-sounding name. And I say stupid-sounding because by the time you're done saying the name of the thing, you've already forgotten the first 2 words. So I'm guessing that whatever announcement there's going to be, it's going to be one of those. You almost get the sense that it's going to be one of those compliment sandwiches. You corporate guys know what I'm talking about. You start off by saying something good, or at least giving something that is relatively innocuous, but it's a placeholder and it's news. Like, here's our new crossover. It's going to have a blankety 5 displacement engine with a hybrid Gilgasmack on it. And then it's going to be, well, we're going to be probably doing away with the V8, and we gasoline bad, but here's a hybrid that'll get you by, basically. And they'll have something that brings the tone down a little bit, only to crescendo the thing up with, and here's our awesome electrified Hall's asthmagram, and this is what we do now. Look, it'd be cool if they went out there, and I've said this a number of times, if they had a Tesla to line up whatever this electric contraption's going to be. If they had a Tesla model, whatever alphabet soup it is today, to run that car against, and it gets out there and smokes it. A legit race, though. That might get me a little bit excited about what future could be coming, but at this stage of the game, it's all a circus sideshow. And, you know, I got to tell you, I'm not really all that interested. I mean, listen, sideshows are supposed to be a spectacle, and in this case, we've already seen the spectacle. We've seen what a Tesla P100D could do back in the day, and that was an amazing feat. Up jumped the Taycan with a 2-speed transmission, and now all of a sudden you've got electric vehicles in the quarter mile trapping 130 miles an hour. e-tron's no slouch too, and it does so in a good looking package. But now you've got the Tesla Plaid. You've got 150 mile per hour sedan, only to be followed up by a arguably more impressive 140 something mile an hour SUV. I mean, what are you going to do, Dodge? You haven't reinvented this segment. You didn't come into this segment creating it. So this is also kind of a weird spot. See, let's just do a full stop there and have a bit of a history lesson. Dodge kind of really did invent the muscle car with the letter cars back in the 50s. You can make an argument that it all kind of started with the 58 Belvedere with that 350 cubic inch. Basically, it's a big block. It's the same block configuration that you'd see 383s come from and 400s come from later on. It's the same block architecture that your 440, your 413s were based on. Race car stuff like the Hemi also based on the same rough block. So in essence, by Dodge kind of inventing the muscle car before there was even a term for it, it was just built for passion and power. Well, you had that. But since you didn't invent the segment, muscle car that is, in this respect, you're running as an also-ran, talking about EVs here again, you better do better than what is considered to be best. Remember, better is only better and best is only best until better shows up to the party, right? So what I'm getting at is if you want to win the hearts and minds of a bunch of petrol heads, a bunch of guys that are into putting exhaust on their cars and into doing all the neat things mechanically, not electronically, but mechanically, something that's analog, something that is visceral, something you can feel, you're going to have some level of internal combustion to go along with all of this. And I happen to know for a fact that direct connection thing, let's circle back to that, they're having all kinds of hell getting their supercharged stuff sorted out. But if you have a hybrid, you can tune the hybrid to throw more power at whatever it is that you're working on with any given amount of throttle input. It's going to kill range until regen gets it all sorted out. But hey, look at the bright side. At least it's tunable. I mean, heck, they're not letting you tune gasoline engines these days, at least not in that respect anyway. So you got to at least be able to play with something, right? And that's where the hybrid really kind of comes into play. It's one of those easy, brainless, and I mean it in a nice way. Trust me when I say this, just work with me. It's an easy, brainless, or at least mindless way for anybody to be able to pick up a tuner and throw all a bunch of extra power at this thing and not have any worries about hurting the internal combustion engine. You just make that electric motor suck more electrons out of the batteries and go from 120 horsepower to 200 horsepower and 300 foot-pounds of torque extra just by rolling into the throttle or at the touch of a button. That can also be done as well. Basically, it's like electric nitrous for your already hot-rodded hybrid. You roll into the throttle and go wide open, and it's just got the normal amount of power. You roll into the throttle and hit the button, and now all of a sudden you've got an extra insert large number amount of power going through the system. It just, obviously drains the batteries faster. There's cool things you can do with hybrids. There's creative things that you can do with hybrids. Are they going to have any of that on show for this, whatever you're going to call this latest Never Lift promotion that they're throwing together? Don't know. But I can tell you something. There are some exciting things that could come from the technology provided they let you do them. So, get ready. Direct Connection's about to have to go in a completely different direction. Something else that's kind of funny too. If they do go all EV, just think of all the different gadgets, gizmos, and whatevers that you'll be able to put in your EV, or at least all the different software and driver mode compatible this and all this other stuff. There'll be a lot of things you can do with an EV that you can't do with an internal combustion engine. It's just that you're going to have to be able to have the EV in your garage to be able to do the stuff to it. And listen, no matter how cool or neato or whatever that stuff is, if these EVs are coming in at a premium price tag, it takes the regular guy out of the conversation when it comes to modifying these things to begin with. You know, it's one thing to buy a 5.7 Challenger or Charger, or even a 6.4 Challenger or Charger, do a little bit of work to it and, I don't know, kind of make it your own. But in this case, you would have to spend at least double that amount of money, or at least that's what it's looking like, for one of these EVs. And it just takes some of that brotherhood out of this whole equation. You know, they want you to be able to grow within the brand being Mopar. That's what the last Kaniskas speech was when all this got kicked off. But funny how it's really only Big Brother that gets to have all the fun. Everybody else is stuck, well, with no support, and that's putting it politely. So anyway, let me check in with you guys real quick, and we will get going here. I'm going to be pulling up a little bit early tonight. Got to wake up crazy early in the morning. But wanted to check in with you guys this evening. Hemi Challenger is in. Sovereign Knight is in. What's up, guys? Hemi Challenger. Like I say, E2TB got the flex. I like it. Sovereign Knight is in. Again, saying mod. Oh, mod on the job. I like it. Eric Taylor is in. What's up, Eric? Marco is in. Red Eye in the house. I like it. Marco just got him a red eye. I like it. Rowboat62 saying good evening. Good evening. Got the beer. Cheers. Sovereign saying bring on the all-wheel drive ACR Viper. Yeah, I don't know if they'll be able to do that. You know, it's funny. It would be an EV and it would be super fast, but got a weird feeling that would. I don't know if that would really grow legs. It's hard. The thing is, it's hard to put together an EV Viper when the Vet still has gasoline. Guitar Man is in saying, hey, B, what's up? Sovereign Knight saying, and Motor Trend. Sovereign said, I give you the Jewel Cat, Hellcat logo with a lightning bolt going through it. Maybe. Isn't Jewel an e-cigarette too? Maybe it's a cat smoking an e-cig. Hemi Challenger saying Dodge in the last 20 years waits to see what everyone else does and then tries to up them. You know, it's funny, back in the day, you know, in the 80s, they were so quick, so quick to jump on board with, you know, 4-cylinder turbos, you know, front wheel drive, really cool, neat 80s type cars. And they're just kind of late to the party with all this. The thing that scares me the most is that 3-liter, but I mean, I'm be happy to be proven wrong with that. BMLMZ saying, did you see the throttle build? It's a Viper RT10 with a red eye motor. I like it. I did see it. I haven't seen all the specs on it though. They already ripped up an axle. I'm not surprised. That'd be a cool car. God, what is in my face? I got like a wayward face hair going up my nose. Let's see. From the future saying, join the conversation late. Do you really believe Dodge is going to really go all electric? They're not going to go all electric. Not anytime real soon. Continues and give the V8 market to Ford and GM. And how do you think the hardcore V8 fans will take it? Well, the thing is that hardcore V8 fans for Ford have got the Mustang and the new Raptor R, but they've got the Mustang. That's it. I mean, you could talk about the 5-liter V8 in the trucks, but I swear you think that Ford's trying to do everything they can to ditch that. As far as GM and their V8s, they're trying to move away from them. I know that. Camaro's going away. The Vet's going to be their only car with a V8 that I'm aware of, unless they're still doing the fleet thing. For the cop cars, and of course the truck will always have some variant for the diesel, but I wouldn't really call that a performance application. I don't know. You know, the big engineering push towards electric is because, or it stems from not being really able to get much more power out of 93 octane gasoline. And remember, there was a push, it just really never went anywhere. What was it, 2018? I think it was 2018, 2019 for 96 or 97 octane gasoline, so that manufacturers could run 13, 14, 15 to 1 compression and have them boosted and make the engine even smaller still. What was it, the Blue Tech? Mazda was a big one that was pushing on that. I know that there was their initial engine offering. It's out now, I think, is that 13 to 1 point whatever small thing. Anyway, it's a masterclass in efficiency. If you've got fuel quality, though, you can get even better out of them. So just like we had, and this is the weird thing too, I don't understand what the holdup has been with this, but back in the days, that the only gasoline that was out there, I think, was 72 octane. It was for engines like Model Ts and crappy cars that had low compression ratios, and you didn't need or want any higher octane because the engine really wouldn't be able to do anything with it if it had it. Well, you fast forward a little bit, engines start becoming more modernized, at least for their time, much higher compression. They needed different fuels to go along with it. We're kind of in that same boat right now. Why not give us gasoline that is walking in lockstep with the type of engines that we're building? Why keep making gasoline, or why make it to where we can only get gasoline for engines that were basically designed 50 years ago? In essence, you know, compression ratios and boost and manifold pressures that would have been manageable even back then with 93 octane. So anyway, stuff to think about when it comes to that, but nah, they're not going to let the V8 go away completely. Oh, talking about that Viper, I guess, and no lift, Larry, totally wrong driver. I can understand that. Oh, from the future saying, how long is the range going to be when you put your foot in it? You know, most of them will give you at least a couple of hours drive time, even when you're beating on them. So most of it has to do with speed controllers getting hot. So, oh, Sovereign's saying that they ordered 3 more axles. Well, they're probably going to need it. Oh, talking about the Viper sounding a certain way. Yeah, I think, well, a lot of it had to do with it didn't really have any exhaust on it. So, yeah, and that's kind of what they sound like with no exhaust. Apparently, they're going through teething problems with that car. Donald saying, hello, Mr. Mason. Hello. 345 saying, congrats on the Ramby. Thank you very much. I'm loving that truck. You know, the more I drive it, the more I find that I really, really like that truck a lot. Again, best, worst kept secret, or worst, best kept secret, I should say, depending on how you look at it. I really like that truck. In fact, I like it, eerily, I like it a lot more than I thought that I would, and maybe I like it a lot more than I should. You know, it's funny, not just because it's a new truck, but I got to tell you guys something. That 7-inch screen with, you know, just the regular console seat, not the big whatever, because I did not want all of that. Didn't want the bucket console or any of that. The truck is I mean, the more I drive it, the more that truck is it was like it was tailor put together for me. Absolutely love the truck. Now, I will say this. The 321 gear versus the 392. There are very rare times when I kind of wish I would have, well, I didn't. I couldn't. I literally had to, for all the incentives, get one off the lot. But there are times when I think, damn, it'd be kind of cool to have that 392 gear. Until I just tip into the throttle a little bit more with that 321 gear, and it's like, oh, well, I wouldn't have really needed one. Plus, the 321 is a little bit more chill, a little bit more sedate-ish, until you don't want it to be. Again, it's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde when it comes to the 321 gear, which is kind of a cool thing. I like that little, I don't know, the term Easter egg is way overused, but it is a little bit of a party trick for that 321 gear. Again, can't imagine liking that truck anymore, and the more time I spend in it, which here lately hasn't been all that much, to be honest, but I've only had it a week, and it just turned 300 miles today, and I've been trying to get as many break-in miles on that truck as I can. I'm not really hitting it too hard. Every time I drive it, it'll get at least one rip to triple digits just to give it a lot of load for a brief amount of time and then kind of roll out of it. No real hard starts or anything like that, though, mainly just varying RPM while I drive it. Of course, it's going to get an oil change between 500 and 1,000 miles, just however my schedule works out for the first oil change. And then from there, it'll be every 400 to 4,000 to 4,500 miles-ish, 5,000 at the most for oil changes on that truck. So, like I say, when it comes to the Ram, let me rephrase what I was about to say. When it comes to the Ford, remember, guys, I was walking into that Ford dealership with my checkbook in my hand. And the more, even with the brief amount of time that I've spent with my truck, I don't even have a full tank of gas through it yet. But with the more time that I spend with that truck, the more I find myself asking, why was I even bothering looking at a Ford? I mean, the Chevrolet I can be forgiven for. I mean, I really like the driving experience of the Chevrolet. When it comes to ride quality, it's at least number 2 for the trucks that I was considering. Remember, I really wasn't considering the Toyota because of the freaking V6. And the Nissan, I just never could really warm up to that truck for whatever reason. It just never did resonate with me for, I don't know, whatever reason that is. But anyway, getting back to the point, the reality with all of this is that I found a truck that I really like, and I just can't imagine what I was seeing in the other trucks. So anyway, getting back to you guys. Go man go 1320 saying hi to me. What's up, man? Some are saying Chrysler Baron was a paper little car with a turbo. You could also get it with the V6 too. Phil saying, B. Mason, would you inform us on the latest news on your direct connection for our beloved Scat Pack? Well, unfortunately, hate to tell you this, brother, but it ain't looking good for the NA crowd, my friend. In fact, it's looking like it doesn't exist. So the NA crowd is running into the same issue that, or let me rephrase that, the NA crowd ran into the same issue that the Hellcats are running into, and that is that there's no way to throw more timing at the car without creating more potential issues with NOx emissions, and there's really no way to get any more out of that car without creating a potential issue for emissions. So really you're left with what is in essence a pedal commander and a means of turning off your MDS if you have an automatic car. There's really nothing else that they're doing with it. And because they're having so many stumbling blocks with the Hellcat platform, which to be honest really should have been low-hanging fruit. I mean, from a tuner's perspective, that would have been the easiest thing to get more power out of with no initial perceived issue with any cat over temp issues or anything like that, until you start looking into it and find out that's the one thing that was keeping them from getting EOs, is that they couldn't, with the Hellcat platform, Red Eye or whatever, it doesn't matter, it's all the same platform, they couldn't get the car to stay out of catalytic converter over temp. In other words, it was a component protection issue. Well, same kind of issue happens with the NA cars. As a matter of fact, they go into cat overtemp pretty quickly too. So again, keeping the car out of cat overtemp means that you're just not throwing a whole bunch of fuel at him, which means that any extra timing would be mitigated by this whole extra fuel that you've got. And you keep in mind that fueling plays a much lower role in how much horsepower the car makes than timing does. But again, if your program, if you have to throw so much more fuel at it to keep it from going into component protection mode, that's going to be a bit of a problem. And I've been able to see that. I got Buffy sitting out front. I've been able to see that with Buffy and with the DTs. I haven't really needed to do a data log on Stormy because, number one, I'm not going full throttle with the truck yet, at least not not in any real, like, repeatable sense. So, like I say, I'll only hit it once, maybe on the highway, and I'm only already going 80. Truck rips to 100. Anyway, the weird thing about the DTs is that they get to the speed like that. It's just, but they do it so quietly. Anyway, the 321 gear, another calling card that they have. But I have data logged a DT, and they also go into cat overtemp fairly early. So even the NA guys have got that to be concerned with. If you could pull some of the component protection out of it, and some throttle settings, that'd really be all you can do. There's just not a whole lot. Keep in mind, I've had a lot of 392 powered cars on the dyno, just as many as Hellcats. I'm trying to kind of think about this over the year that I was working there. And I can tell you that throwing more timing at the car is not going to pick up any power. Fueling, you can pick up a little bit. I mean, you're good if you pick up another 10 to 15 horsepower, and that 15 is a bit of a pie in the sky shot anyway. So, you hope for 15, but you bank on 10 when it comes to tuning the NA stuff. The guys just aren't going to spend that kind of money to pick up 10 horsepower, and that 10 horsepower is only fleeting. So really what you'd be selling is, more or less what you'd like to call a glorified pedal commander that you can change gear ratios or tire sizes for. That's really about it. So they're just not really spending a lot of time on it. Sovereign saying he thinks there's still going to be options for the V8 buyers. Oh, there will be for an amount of time. We'll see how long it is. And again, guys, you got to vote with your wallet. You got to vote, with your conscience when it comes to that. If you love V8s, you got to be a part of the market. If they're selling them, they'll still make them. They'll figure out ways to do it. If people start buying EVs and hybrids, they're going to focus their time on EVs and hybrids. They only go where the wind takes them, guys, and the wind is you. White's asking, what are your thoughts on Ford versus Ferrari? I never saw the movie. And the reason why I never saw the movie is I kind of had read that story when I was a kid and, knew a little bit about it and had forgotten about a lot of it. I've heard it's a really good movie, but unfortunately I haven't seen it, so I can't give an opinion. So I'm saying 72 yuck. Oh, so didn't those old cars use mineral oils with no detergents? Yeah, they did. Oh, and then they started moving into the multi-viscosity stuff. I think in the late 60s. So you're saying Dodge better keep the V8, otherwise they'll lose their base. The thing is this is what I was saying the other day during a conversation. The conversation had come up, and it was, well, what would be the ramifications of Dodge going with the inline six hybrid system, talking about the Hurricane, even if it's 500 horsepower, and also doing away with the V8 and going all electric? I said it's an interesting point, interesting question. I think that you would take a lot of Mopar guys and drive them straight into the arms of Ford. Because keep in mind, Ford will still have the Mustang. And the Mustang was, now remember, the Mustang was the Mustang when the Mustang didn't have to be a Mustang. And what I mean by that is, does anybody remember, I don't know, 2005, 2006, 2007? These are years where you had no Mopar. The Challenger didn't come out until 2008. So you had no Mopar, and Chevrolet wasn't really a part of the equation whatsoever because we had no Camaro. So you had only the Mustang. And Mustang at that time wasn't just the Mustang GT, you also had the GT 500. Arguably the predecessor, well, clearly it was literally the predecessor to the ZL1 and the Hellcat thereafter, but was the product of the Lightning, which was the first of these boosted V8 hot rods, followed by the Terminator Cobra. It carried on a legacy that it had no competition for. And so the weird thing about it is that a lot of Ford guys were closet Mopar fans. You don't get this coming from GM. It's all Ford guys that wanted Mopars but didn't have one to buy. Well, the minute Dodge Mopar quits being the Mopar that the marketing would have you believe that they are, you'll have a lot of guys still in love with their Mopars, not necessarily getting rid of them. I mean, it's not like I'm going to rush to get rid of anything that I've got unless I absolutely have to. But the idea here is that if Ford remains the last of the Mohicans when it comes to V8 presence in the marketplace, what else would you do? Where else could you go? If you want a brand new car, you walk into your Ford dealership. Perish the thought, you have the same experience than I did. But you get the idea. You know, Ford was making these awesome hot rods for a long time, and they may continue to do so. Now, let's flip that on its head. Mopar has been living in the last, I don't know, what, 15 years? Basically under the umbrella of nostalgia. The Hemi name, for crying out loud, is the most nostalgic engine that you may not know what an engine is, but you know what a Hemi is in terms of what it means for power. Well, you can only ride that train for so long, presumably. And so if they wanted to keep looking to the past, but they have these 6 cylinders with the hybrid technology, start bringing up the GLH, start bringing up the Dodge 600 Turbo, start bringing up cars like the Sprint, start bringing up cars like the Daytona. These were all 80s cars that were small turbo 4-cylinders that could pretty much hold their own against contemporary Camaros and Mustangs of their time. So you can look to that, maybe bring back the Daytona name, bring back the Sprint name or whatever. But the point here is that you do have a past to look to market for the future. It's a very cool past, and it was a trailblazing past. It's just that all the technology that made 4 cylinders so good, well, they allowed for V8s to continue. See, back then, people thought the V8 was dead. And this is 40 years ago they thought it was dead. It basically got a jump start on life that has carried it longer than it was a force to be reckoned with in its heyday. Think about that for a minute. So, because of all of that, maybe it's a cool thing. Maybe you can have that retro style and that retro feel, but you're looking at the retro from a different point of view. It's just got blue and pink spandex and a whole lot of hair mousse. So, does it work? I don't know. It's the only marketing direction I can think of that would actually play with Mopar's marketing strategies. I mean, when you think about it, how else do you play that? How else do you market it? Because there is no direct line of sight that doesn't involve, excuse me, direct connection for the V8s at all at this stage. You're going to have to go with your turbo. You're going to have to do something with this EV technology. And you're seriously going to have to do something if you're considering coming out with this hybridization, which is what we have been threatened that is going to take place at this, the latest roadkill nights, which is strange. Okay, so all of that being said, explain something to me with we're getting away from the V8. The V8's going away. The V8, buy V8. V8s are terrible. Gasoline sucks. Here's our new EV that runs whatever. Why is it that they would give certain influencers, I wouldn't read, anyway, why would they give certain influencers red-eye engines and tell them to build a car around a red-eye V8 engine, a platform that's going away? Is this some kind of final celebration of the brand, or at least of the platform? I mean, I get the idea. I understand it. I kind of neat, really, especially if you're on the receiving end of it. But what? It's a confusing marketing message. And the whole part about marketing, one of the big issues that you'll learn in marketing if you're in a marketing student or thinking about going into the field, your message has to be consistent. It has to be very understandable by your target audience. That's a cornerstone, right? It goes without saying. And that, along with product placing, pricing, and promotion, is what allows you to be able to get the message out about your product effectively. Why is it that Dodge is failing the litmus test when it comes to message? Is there a real continuity to this message? It's like you're talking about the future, EV, but you're still throwing money at the past. You're going to hold on to that four-letter word of Hemi for as long as freaking possible. All the meanwhile trying to get everybody excited about an EV that may or may not be worth waiting on. And let's also not forget that political winds are shifting, and everything that has been driving you to EVs and some type of hybridization, well, that may not be so popular in about the next 2 to 3 years. So you might want to think about that for a minute too. Again, let the market take you where you need to be. Don't try to dictate to the market where you will be. Because that's how people lose the message. And I hate for that to happen to Mopar. Oh, man, what happened to my thing here? Evil Raymond saying, hey, B, I'd like your thoughts. I'm ready for a bigger V8 from my 15 RT. Should I go 392 Challenger or current gen Camaro SS? Depends on what you're going to do with it. If your budget involves a laundry list of modifications, just go straight to the Camaro. The Camaro can be made to be very, very, very fast, although you will have to suffer the indignity of driving a Camaro Super Sport. And I mean that in the most polite of ways. And yes, you can make them go very, very fast. It's got a ton of aftermarket support. But if you're not planning on throwing the kitchen sink at it, you want a car that's just going to be fun no matter what, the 392 really will treat you better than that SS will. I can tell you that on a drag strip, I never lost one race to a Super Sport with my SRT. So there's that, but also those SSs were stock, kind of like me. So modification for modification on that level, nod goes to the more stock 392 powered car. Plus it's bigger, and I don't know, maybe a better looking car. It depends on how you look at things. The Camaro SS has got a lot of upside, though. Again, modifying it is pretty straightforward. And the other good thing about it is that it It doesn't have a retro style like the Mustang or the Challenger. And so to me, it's got a bit more of a youthful presence. I really like the latest body style, the last C6. I really like that look. And, I got to tell you, they're a lot of fun to drive. They offer a bit more of a V8 muscle car or pony car driving experience, at least a traditional, like a 2-valve, punchy, throaty, torquey V8 feel, where the Mustang just doesn't do that. The Mustang, a lot like the truck, it will make a ton of power and it seems to rev forever, but that rev forever quality doesn't translate into fun. It just translates into objective data and not subjective enjoyment for me anyway. That's my own takeaway from it. Stuart says Direct Connection offers practically nothing for Scat Pack. I would agree with that. Sovereign saying, I think it's a Gen 2 Viper. It is. Pipes are in the back. Yep. Sovereign saying, Demonology finished his car and is already en route to Detroit. He is in Detroit right now. Hey. Behemoth's in saying, I'm in, buddy. 3.0 Whipple install is finished. I like it. I saw the pictures. I was responding to that. Can't wait to get some raw data on that bad boy. Get that thing out and let me know how she does. Sovereign saying, you can bet the Soul Snatcher Mark II is going back to the 3.0 Whipple after Roadkill Nights. Well, yeah, they're regulated to running that IHI blower, I believe, for that. Oh, he's thinking the original Soul Snatcher might get downgraded back to street. Probably might. Oh, Stuart's saying Ford has the 3.8 whip. Ain't nothing wrong with a 3.0. I'll tell you that. Actually, the 3.8 is going to be pretty nasty. It's not really an efficiency thing. I think it's more of an availability thing. Phil's saying, understandable, love the car nonetheless. Absolutely. How about better spark? From, you talking about for any of the NA stuff? Nah, stock stuff is really good. I mean, it's better than what most aftermarket stuff was not too long ago. Oh, he was saying, yep, with a 3.0, you can literally make a quarter-mile hit and still put your hand on it afterwards. The 3.8 isn't available yet, and the 3.0 rotor pack is a bit lighter, which breaks less belts. That's the 4.5 issue. Yeah, so that's one of the big things with the 3.0 is that it's incredibly efficient. What's weird is that IHI, this drives me nuts. I'm not understanding why the 3.0 Whipple is not available commercially. I'm sorry, the 3.0 IHI blower isn't available commercially. That comes on the Elephant, but the 3.0 Whip is. It's like, it just doesn't make any sense. You'd think that it'd be the other way around with IHI being able to get that on the market quicker, but it just didn't work out that way. Shane's asking, I've shown my parents a 2022 Durango RT, which they really like. What is the difference between an RT and an SRT? The SRT will have a 392. The RT has the 5.7. They're both really good cars, though. So you're saying to me the 3.0 Whip runs cooler? Significantly cooler, yes. Less inertial losses, parasitic losses because of lighter rotor packs. Provisions for higher rotor RPM, your efficiency donut, if you will, if you ever look at efficiency charts, is significantly better with the 3.0. So yeah. It's not to say you can't make a ton of power with a 3.8, but it's going to be similar. I have a feeling anyway, just based on packaging, just based on how the blower is manufactured and has to be a certain size to fit in a certain area, that the 3.0 is probably going to be the smart money play unless they can make the 3.8 able to spin as high in terms of RPM, which again you get into bearing loading and rotor tolerances with this, and it may end up being a lot like a 2.4 versus a 2.7 IHI, where the 2.4 can keep pace basically with a 2.7 in modified scenarios because, again, of efficiencies and downstream temperature issues. Even though the bigger blower moves more air. Someone saying Charger was 2006, Challenger was 2008. That's right. Chuck is in. Hello from Vermont. Hello. Someone saying Sprint RT. Yep. Some are saying the 6.4 will go down in the history books just like the 6.2 as well as 6.4 and 6.4 and 5.7. Yeah, it's already the yardstick. Michael's saying you could have kept the V8. You could have done a remake of the 273. Dual overhead cam variant of it. You could, but the problem with that is that you would still suffer from small displacement. 273 is really only it would still be like 4.5 liters. So you could probably get away with the displacement. You'd need to throw a lot of boost at it though. Not that, European manufacturers do it all the time with that displacement. So I would prefer to see something, along the lines of, a 5.7. Do 5.7 dual overhead cam twin turbo or blower or whatever you wanted to do with it. That would work out pretty well. Make a set of 4-valve heads flow a ton and not really have any downside to it. Only problem with that though is you could end up paying a size penalty just because of how tall the cylinder heads have to be to manage all the stuff. Cams and phasers and everything else. Oh, but he was saying, I think Stellantis didn't realize how big the Hellcat following was, and that's where some of the messaging issues are. Could be. I can tell you that one of the issues that I see with all of this, it's almost like they don't realize what they've done and what they've created. It's the Hellcat is the yardstick. Nobody really says red eye. They say Hellcat. It's like the Challenger itself. If it has a supercharger, it's a Hellcat. And so it's interesting when you hear how people will talk about the Hellcat and all of its variants, the red eye, the super stock, the demon, all of that. It's funny how when you hear people talk about that car, it's always, is it faster than a Hellcat? It doesn't matter what it is. And it can be really anything, and it will always be judged up against the Hellcat, right? Anything internal combustion for sure. So I don't know that they understand what they've created or what their place is in the performance marketplace, just in the ethos of what creates car guy and what motivates car guy. Hellcat is at the top of that list. You don't talk about ZL1 at all. GT500 is too, I don't know what you'd call it. It doesn't even get brought up in the conversation, unfortunately. It's an afterthought, really. So you're only competing against yourself if you're Dodge, really. Sovereign doesn't think ready for a whole bunch of EVs. If they would make them accessible, it'd be one thing, but that's not the case. Or convenient, I should say, another way. Talking about he likes the '08 Mustang. It looks good. But he was saying Mustang has so little under the curve, torque makes it a dog. I tell you something, one of the things that drove me nuts about looking for a 5-liter truck was just that. I felt like if I wasn't wide open in that truck, where the 5-liter does a really good job of making power, but it felt like if I wasn't wide open, the truck was gutless. There wasn't any, how do I put this? There was no happy hunting ground for the 5.0. It was either extremely lazy feeling, by comparison anyway, in much the same way that the Silverado felt lazy. Only for that to be replaced with this furious top-end rush that it just felt like the truck just bugged the hell out of me. The truck really, I was complaining that it needed 373s. It needs 430s. Or at least the transmission gearing of 430s or 456s by comparison to the Ram. I got to tell you, I would have probably overlooked some of the ride quality if the thing would have been able to rip it out of the hole the way that the Dodge can, with 321 gears. The Ford couldn't do it with 331s, and it's rated at the same torque. What gives? I couldn't understand that, and it's a lighter truck by an order of about 200 pounds at least. So, everything, God, I just wanted to like the F-150 so badly because of my experience and my history with F-150s. The thing is, it just drove me nuts. And then that hunting and pecking thing with the transmission, it never could find the right gear. I would do partial throttle downshifts, and it felt like, the truck just was flat. It was to the point where, I had a lot of guys reaching out saying, man, I love my F-150. Absolutely love my F-150. And I'm going, great. I might be part of the club soon. And I'm thinking, damn, what F-150 did they get? Did they and this is what I thought. Guys, I got to be really honest with you here. I felt like I got snookered a little bit. I felt like, well, damn, there's got to be something that had changed. I know they changed something with the Mustang, with the power output or whatever. And I thought, you know what? There's got to be some kind of an emissions related change that took place with the transmission tune or the engine tune or however that works together in their Candyland. Something had to freaking change, because I don't think anybody that had or has an F-150, if they would have driven the trucks that I drove, would have probably given me the advice of there's something wrong with that truck, stay away from it, go find you another one, go to a different dealership. Anyway, Summer saying, wow, already in Detroit. Yep. Chuck saying, I'll always be a Mopar Brotherhood member, not politically correct EV nonsense. I know we're touched on this topic on other shows. Yeah. Chuck saying, Muscat's already possessed my soul. It's a gorgeous car. Chuck saying, check out Scavenger 1320 YouTube channel. To see a stock 392 run 1150s at numerous drag strips. Yeah, we've done that with stock 392s since 2016. In fact, mine full weight at my very first track rental in 2018, I'm sorry, ran an 11.3, and at a couple of track rentals ago, we were running 1140s and 1150s with stock 392 cars. Damn, Chuck, thank you very much, brother. I appreciate it. Saying boom, C-note time again. Thank you, brother. Damn, poker must have been good. Question is, I am at the 12.2 quarter mile, 39 seconds, 0 to 60 on the street radials. I'm very happy running bone stock with my Scat. By the way, the latest operating system is way better than what I had in mine when it comes to cam phasing. I think I can get 11.9s if I improve my launch control, no modding, but maybe temperatures and seat delete. So here's what I found with mine, and this is what we found with all of the cars that we ran at the track. Now keep in mind, this is on a prepared drag strip, but I can tell you what your car would run in that environment because that's where I have the most experience. Bone stock with no weight reduction, I have driven Scat Packs to 1190s. So that is the older operating system cars. I can almost promise you that low 1190s, high 1180s are in that car. It's just going to take some lower temperatures. If you decided to go with the rear seat delete, which some will argue is, they don't really anymore. At one point they were saying it was a weight reduction cheat. I'm like, we're way past that. We don't play those games anymore. If you went with the Mopar, which is a Mopar part, rear seat delete, you'll save about 45 pounds and you'll start to whittle away just a little bit at your 60 foots. My SRT, now keep in mind, this is my SRT with a tune on it. My SRT was the lowest, this cracks me up. It was the lowest horsepower producer on the dyno, and it was the quickest out of the group. But Shalandra would run in kind of air, something that would be kind of a flat to, like 0 to 500-600 feet. That car would still run 1150s without really too much of a headache. Didn't need mineshaft air to run that number, in other words, on drag radials. So at some point, you're going to want to get a set of drag radials for the back of that thing. Again, the Nitto Tri-5Rs are probably going to be the way that I would go because, or I should say the Tri-5R2 would probably be the way that I would go because it's the most versatile of all of the drag radials that aren't called Nexen. Now, the funny thing about the Nexen is that the Nexen is the tire that comes on the back of the 1320. And I've got not a whole lot of experience, but one night when Ray and I took his Frostbite Blue 1320 out, this was in an October night because they had the Freaky Deaky, it usually happens around Halloween, the music festival at the drag strip. And so we took that car out to an area where you can just get away. It's Velocitos where we went. And he and I, with both of us in the car, were back and forth for about 2 hours with both of us running 1220 on the street on the Nexens at 32 PSI. He weighed about 200 pounds. I weigh about 200 pounds. Both of us switched out trying to get a 12.1 with both of us in the car on the street. And the Nexens work great. They're really good. You tip into the throttle. The second you felt the nose of that car come up, you'd roll into wide open throttle. And I ran a string of 12.2s. He ran a string of 12.2s. Anyway, long story short, he got me. He got me at about, I don't know, we must have been playing with that car for about an hour and a half. At least an hour and a half into it, we had stopped, grabbed something to drink, came back, we hit it again because we're about and determined to get a 1 out of this thing on the street. He ran a 12.1. I could never get the thing to run the 12.1, but it showed on the slips, and so he went. He got me. One of the most fun experiences I ever had in my life. So you can definitely get there, no question about it, and it's going to be a good one for you long term. It'll be fun for you long term, and to be honest with you, you can use all of the power that you've got. Hellcat owners really can't say that. Not the way that you can. And, with the upshot that Yours is still naturally aspirated, which there's a lot to say about that. And it doesn't hurt that it's a really gorgeous car. So you can definitely do it. It's gonna be it's gonna take really good air, and but most of it's gonna be in your launch, and we were foot braking his car. So basically you load up the converter to about 1200-ish RPM, 1300 RPM, and we were just kind of rolling into the throttle. And again, you would roll in just enough to get the front end of the car to rise, and then you would just get it to rise and settle, and you're still pouring on the throttle. This is kind of in slow motion, and you just, right as it comes up, go to wide open, and it would absolutely hook. So there's a lot of fun that you'll be able to have with that car. I'll just leave it at that, man. I just can't say enough good things about it. And for the amount of fun that I have had with, especially the much later Scat Packs, man, I have a real hard time saying that the Hellcat platform is better than that one. Even if the Hellcat is faster doesn't always mean better. And with as much fun factor as they have, it's just such a good car. So, but no, I know for a fact it'll go 1190s. In fact, I know for a fact that car on a drag pack will run 1150s. I've done it, literally. So, yeah, it's definitely in there, but that's on a prepared surface. So, but man, thank you very much. I'm humbled. I don't even know what to say, Chuck. Thank you so much. Appreciate that, brother. Man. But hopefully I answered your question, man. I mean, it's not uncommon when the temperatures start to drop for the new Mopars to cover at least a tenth quicker than the earlier versions of that 8-speed car. And I can tell you, man, to be honest with you, you could almost make the case that it's actually a couple of tenths quicker. So again, one of those worst kept secrets that are out there. But thank you again, brother. I truly appreciate that, Chuck. Big time, brother. Man. Let's see. Bear with me, get back up here, guys. Behemoth, there we go. Behemoth saying the 3.0 whip and the 265 Maggie are the two chargers you're starting to see on the really fast cars. Man, the Maggie's no joke. There for a hot minute, I know that with one of my, I put together this small Hellcat cam for Pikes years ago, and it was one where it's just a really good street combination. It turns out though that smaller cam, just being what it is, works really well with that Maggie. And I mean, that cam was getting put in everything with a Maggie, and it was making a lot of power. Some are saying Hellcat has a nice ring to it. Oh, Bruce said, I think there's always going to be a majority of the crowd that'll be so dedicated to a true driving experience in the V8, all internal combustion, that will never really get into EVs. Well, they may not ever be able to get into EVs based on the price of the things. I mean, that's something else you got to look at. EVs are just obnoxiously expensive. So there's something to be said for that in this conversation when you start looking at what constitutes an affordable car, but not only affordability, but again, there's a convenience that is lost. Loss of convenience digs into affordability, doesn't it? So, It's going to be tough. It's going to be tough to convince a whole lot of folks that EVs are better from any angle that you come at it from. Bruce said, honestly, I don't think any manufacturer understands that. The market will begin to drive that. The more backlash the market gets from consumers, the more pressure that they'll have to keep making, keep producing, or start to produce again the V8 type cars. Again, you got to vote with your dollars, guys. And that's the thing. I mean, if you want V8 powered stuff, you got to buy V8 powered stuff. And I hate to tell you this, but as politically driven as a lot of this has been, there's been some stuff, some people cave. I think that part of the speculation is, anyway, that is with Roadkill Nights, is that Dodge may not cave to some of that pressure. They may try to reel back in some of what they said earlier this year. I don't know. There's a whole lot of specification. There's a whole lot of speculation about what spec perform. There's a whole lot of speculation as far as the specifications of what Tim is going to be talking about. When we're talking about specifications of the EV, if he even lets that slide, of whatever hybrid technology is going to be out there for him to be discussing, nobody's talking about that yet. And the problem is that it's such a tight-lipped thing, it had better be good. I mean, I don't just mean good. I mean, like, it better be damn good. And I don't mean just like damn good. I mean like damn good. Because if it's not, I'm afraid the brand is going to suffer. This is one of those pivotal moments where the brand is at stake, right? The brand itself is at stake. The marketing direction is what can take the hit here. And I just hope that they have not become tone deaf to the loyalists that they've created. Just keep in mind that those loyalists can be loyal to anybody. They might fly a Mopar flag really high, but that does not necessarily mean that they don't remember how to drag that flag back down. Because before they were flying a Mopar flag, statistically speaking, they were flying a Ford flag. So if the grass starts looking greener over there, they're going to break wide, and that's where you will find them. So I'm with you. Hopefully they see it. Oh, but he was saying his 3.0 seems to make a lot more under the curve torque than the 4.5 did. From what I can tell, it seems to have gained top end power too. Revs so much faster, harder to hold the road now. That's what I like to hear. I'll tell you something. It's, that designed rotor pack is, I just can't believe IHI didn't roll with theirs, because I know that it's similar. In fact, when I was talking to IHI, this is a while back, IHI knew about the 3.0 whip. Everybody, this is a real small world, by the way, guys. IHI knew about the 3.0 whip, and they're going, man, we're real familiar with this stuff. But they never did market their 3.0, which blew my mind, which, just as good for Whipple. But that's awesome. I like to hear it. I got to call. I'll give you a shout tomorrow. I want to hear more about it, brother, for sure. And again, Chuck, brother, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Again, and hopefully I answered the question. I mean, I know that, and if you're able to consistently run 12.2s on the street and 3.90 to 60s, that's really awesome. I mean, you were at the limit of the tire that you have on the back of that car, if that's the case. So keep it up, brother, man. Just remember, keep practicing, but more importantly, keep having fun and keep playing with it. That's what it's there for, and she will love you for it too. So we're saying, Chuck just dropped a Ben Frank. Yes, sir. Rob's asking, if they make Dodge Challenger electric, will it still be considered a muscle car? They're calling it e-muscle, but It depends on how you market it. It depends on how you make it too. I mean, do you make it like, does it react like a muscle car? Does it have big electric motors in it? And there are ways to do this. And the thing is if you're being, if a hand is being forced, you got to play it, but you can always make the most of it. And in this case, the e-muscle thing, it seems really forced, at least in my opinion. Oh, Chuck's saying he's hooking up good on street radials, running in track mode, very nice, and full sport mode, but I have to roll in, not lay into it. Yeah, and you're doing it the right way. It sounds to me like you've got a really good handle on it. Again, you're running numbers that are literally at the limit of what the coefficient of friction will allow for that tire. So, man, keep rocking it. Just remember, when it gets cooler outside, the car starts making more power. You only still have a certain amount of traction, so the car will be running better, but it'll also be laying patch a whole lot more too. So, but I think you've got it, man. You've got it down for sure. Sovereign saying to be redefined as e-muscle. No, you definitely have it down pat, Chuck. No doubt about that. Frederick's saying, what's cooking B besides ham and eggs? Nothing. I got nothing in the pan right now. Except, I will say this. So, I am looking forward. I've got, what is it, Magani's 2-inch drop springs coming for the Ram, which I'm really looking forward to. Looking forward to bringing that content to you guys. I've got to get the cat's ass out of that truck. It drives me nuts just how jacked up in the back that all the new trucks are. So I'll be putting the springs in the truck, and then again debating on what exhaust to put in the thing. I'm really heavily leaning towards the MagnaFlow. I've got this weird pet peeve type thing where I don't like Y pipes with chambered mufflers. A long time ago, I was doing exhaust testing with Mustangs, and I was running X pipe and H pipes primarily. And X pipe is really nothing more than 2 Y pipes. It's just an inverted Y pipe. So one of the things that I found was the X pipe with straight through mufflers on the dyno would make very similar power numbers to the H pipe, which always seemed to make the most power. But that was the only X configuration that would make similar power all the way across the board, where you didn't see a major loss. But an X pipe with a chambered muffler, like Flowmasters or turbo mufflers or anything like that, the X pipe with the chambered mufflers were always the absolute worst. So no matter how you tried to play it, an X pipe with a chambered muffler, which is the same as any Y pipe basically, with a chambered muffler, was always going to make about at least 5 horsepower less, if not 8 horsepower less, than an equivalent set of straight through mufflers on that X pipe. So for me, I'm looking for the MagnaFlow mainly because it's a straight through muffler, full cat back. I know that I'm going to have to probably hack up the stock system to get it out of there, but I'll be replacing it with a MagnaFlow, so we'll be in good shape. It's funny. My wife and I are just kind of cruising around in the truck tonight. She's like, this thing needs an exhaust badly. I was like, I know, it's so quiet, and you just don't realize how quiet that truck is. I mean, we got to where we were going, okay, how quiet can we, like, we were whispering like this, and you could hear it. We could hear each other perfectly fine. So it's like, yeah, this thing needs an exhaust. We're not a stock exhaust family, by the way. It doesn't work like that in our household. So if it were up to her, the truck would have already had an exhaust put on it. So I just got to get that bad boy ordered up. I can't wait to bring you guys that content with this truck too. As well as some intake stuff. We're going to do a little bit of all the little the fun little bolt-ons, and then we'll really start getting sloppy when we get the computer unlocked, and then start getting in there and playing around a little bit with some torque modifiers, primarily a little bit of fueling, and a lot of driver command torque type stuff. We're gonna liven it up a little bit. I'll put it to you that way. She'll be fun. Byron saying he'd run street suspension and track on transmission, so you throw the weight back. Best thing to do in our boats. One of the things that I noticed with my car on the street, I ran mine in sport, and the reason why is when you compress the suspension, you'll notice that the contact patch gets physically smaller because you're pulling if the tires are flat, or just trying to give you an example. As that suspension compresses, it's on an arc. It's not straight up and down. So what I found is on the street, if I was trying to get the thing to launch, I could sometimes get the car, and the initial bite was good, but as I was applying throttle and the car started to sit more, it would start to spin. Whereas in sport, it wouldn't do it as much. Now, on a drag pack, I don't really mess with it so much. I leave it in street because I really am trying to get the thing to squat, and I'm on tires that are compliant, so it really doesn't matter, and I'm on a prepared surface. But if you're on 20s, and I'm on a compliant tire, which is more to the point, but 20s, the problem is, and I was doing pattern testing with tires at this time too, and I could tell whenever I'd go to check the pattern that when I ran them, let me think about this. When I ran the 20s at like 25 PSI, 27-ish PSI, it had a nice flat contact patch, but on street you would see the inner strips would be a little bit darker, and it was just the way that it was with that car with those tires. But again, I run mine on the street. I'll run them at street pressures at like 32 in the rear, and I don't really like it so much. I still run my rears at about 30 to 27 to 30 normally. Sovereign saying there's V8 muscle car people, then there's EV hipsters. Chuck saying, I think it's safe to say most subscribers on this channel are V8 car enthusiasts. Indeed. Sovereign's asking if Racer X is already headed to Detroit. I would bet that he is. But he was saying, definitely talk tomorrow, track time Friday or Saturday. Nice. Yeah, give me a shout. I'll be setting up for events early in the morning. So yeah, once you're up and about, give me a holler. Sovereign saying e-muscle is all about its execution. Yeah, maybe. The thing about the whole e-muscle thing is that it's hard to pin down for some folks. Ooh. Bruce is saying, in my perspective, this whole EV switch for Dodge seems so forced and leaves a nasty taste in my mouth. It wasn't a gradual change or seamless transition. It's honestly tragic. There's a lot of people that share that sentiment. As a matter of fact, there's a lot of folks that are questioning if it was even sincere to begin with at this stage. It just doesn't, I don't know that it was. I mean, he was saying e-muscle has to beat the Tesla platter. It's a flop for sure. It is. I mean, they have to, right? I mean, if they don't, then what was the point of this exercise? When you think about it, that's the whole goal of this, right? I mean, you could even argue that, okay, well, maybe they have a scat pack type variant of the thing. That's not what we're looking for. Dodge needs to be top of the food chain. Again, that's what they were touting for so long. You can't not be faster than the Plaid. That doesn't even compute. Like, what? No, we're not taking a backseat to anybody, especially when it comes to drag racing. But he was saying government has mandated technology before that was not ready, so this isn't the first time. I agree, though, that it's not a seamless transition for sure. Yeah, you're gonna be doing a lot of beta testing. Unfortunately, it's how I feel about it. Oh, KZ1000 saying definitely put a good trans tune on the truck. I've seen the 8 speeds break. The tires loose going into second gear with some decent line pressure. Actually, he doesn't take that at all. So Stormy, when I took the Draggy on the test drive, and literally just put it up in the little thing on the dash, it came out invalid because Stormy, when she lit the tires up and hit the second gear on the 1-2, it kicked the back end of the truck out. I think it screwed up the accelerometer in the Draggy, so it gave an invalid pass. And it was funny because I was like, this damn thing just barked second with like, at the time it had 16 miles on it or something like that. And again, that's kind of the cool story with Stormy, on top of beside the fact that it was literally the truck that I built with options added in that I wouldn't have thought to add in because I didn't know that they existed or that I could get them in that thing. So it was literally like I was sitting across from a truck sommelier, and they're like, okay, you want 18s? I understand that. You like that big sidewall, man. It looks good. The 275s are chunky back there too, man. It's a good looking tire. I think you'll like that. Okay, stick with the 18s. Okay, cool. You like that metallic dark gray looking thing? Yeah, it looks good, man. It looks good. It looks like glitter. It's pretty sweet. Cool. Yeah, okay. And then just going through the screen and the sliding glass window, which I didn't even know my truck had, which was funny. I wasn't paying attention to it, and I didn't even realize that it had it until I was getting out of the truck and just happened to look in the back seat. I just didn't even notice it on the test drive. It comes with a trailer controller. I had no idea you could get the trailer controller with that package, but you can. Just a lot of really cool things on that truck. Anyway, it was like somebody just literally made it specifically for me after knowing what I wanted, and then go, yeah, we need to add this because you're gonna want this. You just don't know that you want it, but if you like gadgets and gizmos, you're gonna want this. Really? That I'd have been that guy anyway. So anyway, it worked out pretty good. Effort saying, need help to give my 6.1 more power. Any suggestions? Long tubes and a tune is where I would begin and end with that. The cam profile in the 6.1 has a tighter lobe separation angle, so they do respond to long tubes. Ported throttle body, I don't know that you'll see a whole lot with that. You can get more out of just the driver demand torque, which is just a fancy way of saying throttle sensitivity. You can get more out of that with a tune. Or if you don't want to tune the car, well, you're going to need to tune the car if you go long tubes because you have a transport function for the O2s for the long tubes. So long tubes and a tune, I think that'll be the best place for you to start. Anything more than that is going to require camshaft and significant other upgrades to get the thing to really respond in a big way, and to get the same percentage of feel out of the car in performance as the tune will get you in the long tubes is going to require a significant amount of input. So from there, it would be cam and converter, really, and that would then lead into potentially re-gearing the car. So it all depends on your budget. Whoa, hang on a second. Byron, my man, thank you very much. Holy mackerel, I appreciate that, brother. Saying congratulations on your new truck. Love your videos. Thanks, man. I am in South Fort Worth area. Any shop recommendations for transmission tune 2021 392 wide body? Man, I'll tell you what, we had a lot of folks from Dallas bring their cars. In fact, they would caravan their cars down to Houston to Peitz Performance. It's P-E-I-T-Z. I used to work there. Still really good friends with the owner, Alex Peitz. He is the guy that teaches people that teach people how to tune these things. It's really hard to argue that anybody is significantly uh, anywhere even in the same range as he's going to be local to you. I know that Gearhead seems to do a pretty good job up there, but I can tell you that again, I mean, God, I got to tell you, a full 20% of our business was Dallas based. In fact, two of the cars that I spent the most time with, Racer X's Excessive and Quick Bricks SRT Charger, were from Dallas, and those are two of the cars that I literally spent more time with, I think, than any other car on the dyno, just as far as spending time with in general. So, at least more than my own car, as a matter of fact. So, I would say that give the team over at Peitz, again, it's Peitz, a shout. Let them know that I sent you. And make the trip. You'll be very happy that you did. I know it's a little bit out of the way, but the results speak for themselves. And when you're spending the kind of money that you're looking to spend, again, you're going to have to get an engine tune because you have to tune part of the engine to go along with the transmission tune. I don't think that you would be, I just really don't think you're going to get better than what you can get with Peitz, at least not in your area. And I might be a little bit biased, but again, we had so many guys come down from Dallas that it was kind of just kind of a normal thing for us. We would have guys that would caravan down, and then throughout the course of a couple of days, they all got hotel rooms, and over the course of a couple of days, we would just rotate their cars through. So, all good stuff. That's the way that I would go. But again, we had pretty much anywhere in Texas, we were having guys send their cars down, and I don't know of anybody that ever didn't have a really awesome result. So it's one thing, again, when you're working with a guy that teaches people that then teach people how to tune, it's just a different level of refinement that you get with that kind of a tune. So that would be my suggestion. I know you'd like to stay in your own area, but grab a buddy, grab your girl, make it a trip, and have some fun. Like I say, it's definitely worth it to make the trip. That would be my suggestion. And again, it's only going off of my own experience, but again, when so much of our business came from the DFW area already, I don't know that I would know anybody up in that area. We just had so many cars coming down from there. But man, thank you very, very much, man. I truly appreciate the generosity, Byron. I really do. Thank you, buddy. Appreciate that. Hopefully I answered your question. I know you'd like to get it done up there, but I just have to say, bring it down and have Alex do it, because I think he'd be a lot happier. But thank you very much, buddy. So I'm saying, this is Dodge we're talking about here. They like to make bold moves. I think what we're going to see will be exciting. Chuck said, we need an 8-second street legal car to beat the clown car. I mean, Tesla. You know what? The thing is that it will take an 8-second car to beat it, though, isn't it? I mean, look at how fast that contraption is. It's one of those things where okay, so the Plaid will run. I know everybody says 9.1 or 9.2, whatever. Take that number and throw it away. That's really not the number that needs to scare you about the Plaid. The scary number is the fact that the Plaid will run 9.4s and 9.5s literally by just pulling up to the line, sitting there, waiting for the light to turn green, and go wide open with it. So the whole cheetah mode, warming up the batteries and doing all of that completely unnecessary in the Plaid if you want to run mid-9s. And that's really the number that should scare you. And if Dodge can do something like that where it runs effortless 9.0s or 8.90s, that's going to make the Plaid have to reinvent itself. And that's what Dodge is going to have to do. Anything less than that will be couched with an excuse. It will be swarming. Let me rephrase this. Excuses will be swarming around the crowd if they announce an EV that doesn't beat a Plaid. And I don't want to hear none about we're planning on blah, blah, blah. No, that ain't going to work. I don't want to hear in the works. I don't want to hear our mission statement. I don't want to hear what's over the horizon. By the way, these are all drinking game phrases, and if your guy says anything, you gotta at least. So I don't want to hear any of that. I want to hear what is here now, because you can't sign up for the potential. You need to sign up for what's really there, and that's just how this works. And if that message is accepted, in other words, if they say, well, we're going to, or we're thinking about, or this is our view for the future, no, I want to know what's being released in 2023. I want to know what's being released in 2024, 5, whatever. Give me something to get excited about. That is what has to be driving the conversation. If you accept speculation after all of this buildup, you got all this heavy petting, it's got to lead to something. And if this falls flat, do you even stay a Mopar fan? See, the problem is, look, the problem is you've got management that is stringing along a fan base. Well, this is coming. How long ago? Oh my goodness! I got to think about this. How long ago was that video where Tim Kuniskis is walking around with all the older Mopars and lifts up the corner? That one. How long ago was that? It's been more than a while, I would have to argue. And we still don't have anything to show for it. Direct Connection fell flat on its face for understandable reasons, but it doesn't make the fact go away that it has gone nowhere. Where exactly are we now with Mopar? In other words, if they don't release something, if they don't do something cool at this event, nobody is going to get excited for the next promotion. Nobody is going to get excited about the next, info drop. Anybody heard how the donut maker guy's doing lately, by the way? How's that chap faring these days? Wonder if he'll be at the Woodward Dream Cruise. Anyway, you can tell by the look on my face where I'm at with that. And again, Byron, thank you very much, buddy. I appreciate that. Johnny's saying, I have a 2015 Charger RT. Would you do a Hellcat, Camaro, or something else? I would definitely do the Hellcat. If you're looking to step over a 392, go with the Hellcat. It's going to be familiar to you, and it's going to give you a car that is just a lot more comfortable. They're all fast, dude. Nowadays, everything is fast. So go with what's comfortable. Some are faster from a dig, some are faster from a roll. Some might go around a corner faster. Everything is fast in its own way, and they're all crazy fast just in general. So, some are saying just upgrade to a 6.4. Some are saying Scat Pack's where it's at. Honestly, if you want the most usable power, like legit usable power, overall best package, I'd have to get a car kind of like Chuck's. I'd go Scat Pack for sure, and that, listen, no, it's not as fast as a Hellcat, but it's still fast as hell. It's one of the fastest, if not the fastest, naturally aspirated cars that you can buy, period. And yeah, the Mustang may be able to be faster from a roll, but I mean, it's a Mustang. It does Mustang stuff. It doesn't do, it just doesn't do muscle car stuff. It does pony car stuff. Pony cars, they mile an hour like crazy, but they don't have the punch, and they don't have the theater, and they don't have the story to tell you. You can have a whole lot of fun under the covers with a 392. In other words, you don't have to be going 100 miles an hour to have fun with a 392. All of the fun in a 392, just like in a 5.7 in a way, but a lot of the fun in the 392 happens from 0 to 85 miles an hour. And you might say, well, yeah, but the Mustang's faster from a roll. From a roll, bro. Listen, you've got to leg that thing out to 90, 100, 110, 20 miles an hour. And yeah, in that respect, it will be faster. But did you notice I said 100 plus miles per hour? If you're going 100 plus miles per hour on public roads, I get it. We're all human here. And if you're on this channel, we all know what kind of humans we are. We do 100 miles an hour every day. But the fact of the matter is that just from a playing around, being fun to drive, lots of room, lots of theater, show me a car that does better than the Challenger. And I'll take that a step farther. Show me a car that does better than the Challenger, talking about the Scat Pack here. And then let's look at sales figures and let the market also tell you what does better than the Challenger. And right now, there isn't anything that does it better than the Challenger. Or Charger if you like 4 doors. Nothing beats the Challenger in that respect. The Charger in that respect. The 6.4, in other words. In that respect. It's just really that good. So if you want even more power still, the Hellcat is what I would recommend. Lots of overhead. Easy to modify. Go super fast and all that. Or have something that is fast with class, and I mean really fast. Guaranteed 10-second ET on a drag pack on any drag strip in good air. What's more to love? What's more to like? So, Beanie's asking, hey Professor, what are your thoughts on the Mopar rear seat delete for the Challengers that are just street driven? Is it overkill? No, I prefer the rear seat delete because of one annoying little fact about the Challenger, and that is that you can't freaking lower the rear seats with the front seats in any sittable position. So for me, the rear seat, it's like a vestigial organ. It just doesn't do anything, and it's taking up extra space. To me, if you put the rear seat delete in the car, for one, technically, you gain some trunk space. I would say wait until the fall to put one in because you'll be sweating your ass off inside of that thing getting it in there. You need to fillet basically everything out of the car and then install the thing, and then you kind of install the rest of the trim pieces in afterwards, in and around it. I've done 2 of them, and I don't really ever want to have to do a third if I can get away with it. So I would do one, though. If I had another regular Hellcat, I would absolutely have a rear seat delete in it without question. Wouldn't even think twice about it. Oh, Sean's hanging out with Shawnee. Sean's World saying, I've been thinking about getting torque converter, drop-in pistons for my 5.7 Challenger for an NA build. Is there any drop-in pistons you would recommend, and would they be worth it for the gains? No, not if you're just going to stay with for an NA build. I mean, unless you're going, if you want to go with a 392 in that respect, but listen, unless the car is paid off, you've had it for a while, or you've been gifted the car and you want to throw some money at it, you could go with a 392 stroker setup with it. The problem with that, though, is that it'll never run as good as a regular 392 because of valve shrouding. Whereas the 392 has a larger bore and it unshrouds the valves, it allows the heads to flow better. That's one of the things about the 392 versus the 5.7 is just it allows the heads to work better in general. So for me, man, I mean, if you've got that kind of coin sitting around, I would always suggest taking that money, putting it along with your car, and getting you something with a 392 already. You know, they say 392s can't handle boost. That's wrong. A whole lot of Pro Charger kits would like to offer an argument to that statement. I know that Alex had tuned. You would just hear him daily at the shop getting tuned with no issues whatsoever. You know, everything has its limits, though, and really the HP 70 transmission was something more that we were concerned with, more than, you know, pistons or anything that had to do with the 392. So, in fact, we had one dude, red Charger, pretty car too. That guy, now he didn't race it, he just beat on it mercilessly, and it made on a Mustang dyno, I think it was 535? I want to say 535 to the rear wheels, and that was kind of the functioning limit of the HP 70. So, and he always had it on street tires, was always out smoking the tires. I love that thing. So, the Bluesers in saying, how's it going tonight, Beat? Going well. I finally got my OEM Demon wheels. Very nice. On my 6.1, and gotta say, solved my traction problems. I bet it did. Also picked up a shell for a side project. Very nice. Got the flex and the cadence, and I don't have my shades. Dang it. Good call, though. Good play. I like it. Bear with me here, guys. Hang on. See Siren's hanging out with Sean's. Shiny saying, for sure, I feel the 5.7 just isn't it. Not even worth it. I want to stay with the Charger for sure. Get you a 392. Oh, Sovereign saying Dodge has got some diversity in their lineups they can pull from. Maybe. Chuck saying I had a blast in my 5.7 shaker, but it doesn't compare to my new Challenger Scat's performance. The 392 is a sweet performance engine. Listen, I did a video. It's been a long time back, but I did a video, and it was basically my argument as to why the 392 was arguably, at least in my view, the most important engine that Dodge had ever made. And it was, why is the 392 in essence better than the original 426 Hemi? What makes it better? How is it better? There was a lot involved in that, but it's somewhere in my thoughts section, probably nearer to the bottom than anything else. But anyway, it's basically my view on the engine and how it really did change it changed the muscle car. It turned the Charger and the Challenger excuse me, into a legit muscle car. Not that the 6.1 wasn't, But you got to remember that the 6.1 is what, 300 and, let's see, 372 cubic inches, something like that. That's not 400 cubic inches. And the number, that magic number, is always somewhere at or near 400 cubic inches. Basically 380 and above gets you into a bit of a different conversation. It is a big block muscle car at that point, right? 383 basically would be the one you're thinking about right now with the Roadrunner. So that's what would get you into the conversation. And that's what the 6.4 did, the 392. That's what it did, is it gave you a big block engine size. And now we can talk about performance and everything else and how it stands. And the cars are just that, they're just so good with that engine, and you could get them in anything. Arfo saying, my soul says Scat Pack, my wallet says shut the hell up. I understand that completely, buddy. So I was saying 392 is like having the Hulk under your hood from the start. The fun thing about it is that they absolutely are the best. One of the things that I like so much about the 392, if you guys are seriously thinking about a 392 versus a Hellcat, I will say this. The 392 is extremely snappy. It's pop, pop, pop. It is a performance, naturally aspirated engine that is as strong as you can get one to be on 93 octane and still work on the street with the amount of weight that you're working with that platform. And you got to remember that unless the Hellcat is getting into boost, the Scat Pack's actually the faster car, or the faster under partial throttle. The snappiness of it, the dartiness of it, the instant throttle response that you get out of the Scat Pack is noticeable. Like, it's not even a small amount difference. It's one of the very first things that you notice going from one to the next. So you're definitely not going into a conflict unarmed with a Scat Pack. It's just that it's such a different driving experience, but again, it's a very fun driving experience. Chuck saying, I don't feel like I'm compromised by getting my Scat instead of a Kitty. I can afford it better and still has insane acceleration. It's not only that it has insane acceleration, it's got big block muscle car acceleration. And this is the other argument that I have against the Hellcat. This is a weird argument considering what's right there. I get that. And kind of what's behind me with the cat eating my bald head. But this is one of the bigger arguments that I have. First of all, the 392 from an NA standpoint is really good, but it offers up traditional muscle car performance numbers. It will run 11s. The thing will run 1220s on the street. There isn't one muscle car from the muscle car era that would do that wasn't a factory prepared drag race car. And even then it wouldn't do it on the street. And you certainly couldn't drive it on the highway because it'd have 456 gears or even more aggressive. And so the 392 Charger 2, but the 392 Challenger offers up legitimate golden era beating performance. And you get it in a package with AC and heated seats if you've got them, and a transmission that'll allow you to go down the highway at 80 miles an hour effortlessly without droning your head off. So that's why it's so good. And it's naturally aspirated just like the golden era setups were. In other words, it's relatable at that point. You have a direct line of sight to the golden era with your 392. And I know that's a nostalgic look, but everything else is boosted. It's a smaller displacement, lower compression, kind of a lazy engine out of boost, and then you give it the beans and get the thing into boost. That's a completely different story. But now, by the time you're done with the conversation, the car, you're already going way too fast, and it still is enjoyable. One of the things that I've said a lot, especially when it comes to the 5.7, but even in the trucks, and I've been around the trucks for a little bit too, is that the thing about the NA stuff is that you can have fun and have all the theater without the same level of risk or liability that you have with these much, much faster cars. The number is something that can be a bit of a target fixation for guys. I want a car that runs 10s. Why? Do you really? I mean, we can build you something that runs 10s, but is there what does 10s have to do with anything? I just want a 10-second car. Okay, well, you won't really notice a difference. It's anyway, there's a whole conversation that goes with that. But I guess the point that I'm making is that there are so many reasons, and I still stand by these reasons, by the way. There's so many reasons why the Scat Pack is so much and can be so much more fun than the Hellcat. So, I don't know, just my O2 on that. Sovereign saying challenges the car of his dreams. I understand that. Chuck saying Scats and 1320s beat GT350s drag racing often. Oh yeah, easy work, honestly. Just not on a road course, for sure. Start saying exactly, you don't buy a 4,000 par to take corners. Hey, let me tell you something. You don't. I've got a 5,200 pound truck that seems to go around corners really well. That's one of the weird things about my truck, by the way. These little Easter eggs that I keep finding with that thing. It handles really freaking good. I mean, it is absolutely stuck to the road. So, just saying. Shawnee's asking is there any real difference between the new Hellcat and the old one, or is it just a screen upgrade? Because I definitely don't mind a Scat Pack since it's in the price range, especially a wide body one. Not really. The early ones like mine have a slightly different supercharger case. Not that you would notice it. Some stuff going on underneath it. It's my blower is not quite as efficient as the 16 and up blowers, but it still does just fine. But no, functionally there is no difference. Doesn't matter what year we're talking about. The ones that I prefer would be the ones without the mass air meter, so 17 and up would be the ones that don't have the mass air meter. And then 19 and up have the newer screens. So, if I were to be saving, I would be saving for a 19 and up. Someone saying muscle cars are not track cars, totally different game. Oh, Shawnee's saying most Hellcats were out of 2016. It's a good year. Try to find a 16 with a build date that's later, like a November or a December build date. The earlier ones are the ones that had issues with superchargers. Sovereign, I don't know, but I have to disagree with that. My insurance didn't go up when I got the Hellcat, and talking about a lot higher cost of ownership. They are more expensive, but they're not necessary from a maintenance standpoint. No big deal. I mean, you just keep changing oil and changing fluids, and it works pretty good. Chuck saying the 2021 pitch black Hellcat at my dealership is $95,000. Holy mackerel. Still there, waiting for a buyer. No kid, not me. I'm a 60 grand man, not 100. Yeah, you and me both. Holy crap. That's crazy. That's crazy talk. For that kind of, damn. Damn, that's a lot for that thing. It's nuts. Oh, Chuck's saying, I think the newer Scats are better than the first ones. They really are. Sovereign saying, and a lot of that has to do with cam phasing, but they do run better. Sovereign saying 392, 45, 475, 425, 430 to the wheels. Depends on the dyno. Mustang dyno, it'll be doing good to make 400, 405-ish to the rear wheels. Chuck saying, I mean the newer first ones, not 60s. Yeah, yeah. Oh, Chuck's saying, talking about to the horsepower to the crank. X is saying, what up, Professor B? Oh, what's up? Get stung by the scatter, get clawed by the cat. Chuck's saying 309 gear. Yep, that's what they come with. Best overall gear for that platform, by the way, seems to be 309. Sorry, I want a car that puts me in run stins. Donnie is in saying, what's going on, guys? Chuck's saying he's liking the 6-piston Brembos in his Dynamics package. So the Dynamics package is the new, I guess the way that what they're calling the old SRT, which is the same that I had. But yeah, the 6-piston Brembos are freaking awesome. Someone's asking if I got some hidden arrow on that truck. I don't have anything hidden on that truck. Oh, Arfo saying, this is Mike G, by the way. Good to have you, buddy. Chuck saying, everybody have a great week. Gotta go. I gotta go too, guys. I gotta wake up crazy early. But Chuck, Byron, man, thank you all very much. I really appreciate the contributions, guys. Seriously generous. Thank you all very much. But guys, with that, I do have to wrap it up. I want to say thanks to each and every one of you guys for hanging out with me. Would not do this without you. Get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. And with that, y'all have a great week. We will catch y'all on the next one. And that is a wrap. Y'all have a great one. Adios.